Good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to talk about acquisition, and I know that came up a lot in today's conversation out there in the main room also, and it's a lot of the conversations that we have with our clients, and I know it's happening in every meeting room and every dealership across the country, especially during COVID when we ran out of cars, right? So acquisition is really, really important in our business, and Mark mentioned it, you got to have a plan. I don't know if anybody still uses this term, but I buy with a shotgun, right? I used to talk to buyers. I said, I just buy with a shotgun, just buy whatever. But I think we have to have a much more targeted approach and a plan behind what it is that we're doing every day and making sure that we're optimizing our inventory. So targeting the cars that we need based on a couple of things, based on the sales that we've had this store, cars that we know that we do really well with. Thinking about some cars that do well outside of our four walls, that do really well in the market, and combining those cars to figure out how do we put together a buy plan and target the right inventory. So I think that's really important. Acquisition is something that I talk a lot about. It's something that was really important to me when I was in a car store, which happened to be before COVID. So I've been in performance management for about 5 years. So Dick and I are going to talk a little bit about how do we build a plan, how do we target the right cars. And I know, Dick, I know you bought and sold a lot of cars when you were in the car industry, right?
I did.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about how did you put together a plan? How did you identify, hey, I need some inventory. What am I going to do to go out there and find it? How do I determine which ones?
I self-admittedly put it together the wrong way because I didn't have the tools available. I would look at, of course, my sales log. I came from a very small GM dealership. Self-admittedly, so we would look at what we sell last week. Well, we sold 4 Silverados. So what should I do? Let's go buy 4 more Silverados. Not knowing, geez, should I look at trim? Should I look at year? Should I look at price point? I would talk with the salespeople. I would, of course, do my lot walk and go, geez, I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing that. I wasn't looking outside the 4 walls of my store to see, geez, the guy down the street, what does he have? Is it priced competitively? Is it not priced competitively? Am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? I very much would buy the shotgun. I call my used car manager and say, hey, go down to Waverly Friday to the GM's factory sale and get me this. What I wasn't thinking about is 2 things. Was I buying the right car for the wrong money? Or was I buying the wrong car for the right money? And that's one of the things and one of the pitfalls that we want to go over with you guys, so we're less tripping up on that stuff, making better data-driven decisions for acquisition and retailing.
Yeah, there's definitely an easy way to buy a car, and then there's a way that we can target the right one. So I think if we needed to go out and buy 30 or 40 cars a day, we could probably do it. Call our enterprise rep, right? Send me 10 cars, just give me a deal. Or we can do what I call hitting the easy button and just fire it up the simulcast and click and bid until you get the car, right? So I think that if we wanted to just go out, acquire inventory, buy cars, we could probably do that. But I think we need to use the tools that are accessible to us inside of our VINCUE account already to make sure that we target the right ones.
Yeah, 100%. So the first thing I want to go over is understanding current performance. If we're going to have a roadmap, if we're going to learn to get better, make better decisions, we need to know a couple things. Is one, where are we currently at, but also where do we want to go? Everyone, raise their hand if you're familiar with what this looks like when you log into VINCUE. Raise them up high. Okay. All right, good. So 4 basic data points that this screen is going to go over for inventory performance. The first one is turn. I'm going to get to turn in a second because I got a little bone to take with it. We'll get to that. So again, what my turn is right now, new, used, compared with, hey, what was it 30 days ago? Inventory age. My average age of my inventory right now compared with a snapshot of 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90 days ago, for both new and used. And just so everyone knows, for the sake of the conversation that we're going to have today, and for the sake of the presentation, we're going to cover used, all right? I'm going to try to hit that point a couple times. Price to market. Where's my average price to market right now? And within that, how competitive is my inventory line? So how many vehicles do I have priced super competitive under 95% cost to market? How many are at average price to market, maybe between 95 to 105%? And then of course, how many of us like to have those nice unicorns where we can just price them through the roof knowing we're going to get them? And how many lie there? Days to sale, average days to sale, which is my personal favorite, best indicator of my performance, my efficiency, and how well my department's doing. On both new and used, hey, what is it right now compared to a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? So for any GSMs, general managers, owner-operators in the building, show of hands, who here is relatively proficient at reading a financial statement? No right or wrong answer, okay. Who thinks that they probably can outread a financial statement if we had a competition? Raise your hand. Like if you're like, I know pretty good. One? Okay, all right. So for everyone who raised their hand, let me ask you a question. Dealer, independent, or franchise? Okay. What OEM? Toyota? Okay.
That's an easy one.
Licensed to print money. I love it. Okay. So, on what page of your financial statement does the word turn appear? It does not. And I say that because while I feel a turn is a very important number, is there anyone in this room who thinks that turn is the be-all, end-all for used car departmental performance? Or is it just one part of several factors? That's my belief system. I personally think days to sales. If I can see where I'm currently performing, if I can see those trends, am I going up, am I going down, I think that's very important. Now, Marvin, I'm going to put him on the spot and talk about turn because I think it's also one of the factors in there that is the most easily for you guys to be able to manipulate, lie to yourselves, and give you a false sense of comfort.
So, inventory age. I think it's very easy to manipulate that number. And what I mean by that is, has anybody in the room ever dealt with aged inventory before? I think we all have, right? So what do we do when we look at our inventory buckets and we see cars that are between 60 and 90 days? And maybe some of us work on a turn, maybe some of us don't work on a turn, maybe it's a soft turn, a hard turn. But if we looked at our buckets and said, man, we sure do got some old cars out there, what would we do with those if we decided that they needed to go away? We would put them on a truck and send them to our local auction, right? So if we decided to get rid of all of the aged inventory, and then we asked our buyer, hey, guess what, I need some Silverados, and he went out there and bought us 15, 20 cars to replace those with, what happens to the inventory age number? It drops by a lot, right? So this turn number is 365 divided by your average days in inventory. So obviously, the turn's going to go up as you guys do that. Does it mean we sold any more cars? Can we agree that cars that we sell the fastest, we tend to make the most money on? Right? So I think balancing out your inventory age, having cars come in and out of inventory consistently, but having a plan to stock inventory by looking at days to sell, cars that we know we can sell fast and make money on, that's where we have to start the plan. The turn is very important, but I like to take it a step further. How many cars do we have in stock currently? What did we sell in the last 30 days, last 60 days, last month? And balance our inventory out based on, well, how many cars do we really have to sell the amount of cars we want to sell? So from here, there's a couple of things that we can do. We can try to balance our inventory out, developing that plan. And where I like to start is the stocking level. So when we're breaking it down by segment, we can also break it down by price point. Because we know each segment has a different price sensitivity. I think we can agree a $35,000 used compact sport utility probably isn't going to sell the same as a $35,000 pickup truck, for example, right? So whenever we've decided, hey, we could use a few more cars, we need to determine what segment that we need inventory in. So for this example, we can see compact sport utilities. And if you guys are unsure what these bars are, red represents what we have in stock, gray represents what we have sold. So clearly, we have a pretty big deficiency in compact sport utilities, right? So we can also break that down by price point and determine where are we going to start. So we decided we need some inventory. We've noticed that, hey, we're pretty short on compact sport utilities. We can break it down by price point, and then we could do what? Well, call up the buyer and say, hey, I need some compact sport utilities. But I think that we got to take it even further than that. So Dick, if you were going to take it from, I noticed we need some inventory. What's the inventory going to be? Compact sport utilities, I definitely have a deficiency in. I can look at what price points I need inventory. Now where do we go?
Yeah. Everyone, just on a side note, everyone is familiar with this on the homepage, right? Best practice is we should be looking at our acquisition taskbar fairly high up. It should not be buried in your screen. Remember, you might not see this. If you click stock levels, this will appear. You've got the option to look at vehicle class. Once you click your vehicle class, you'll be able to dive into your price ranges. So the next step I want to look at once I've established this is what we call the sustainment plan. That's historical performance. So setting the stage again, what we're looking at is a Honda franchise dealer. Raise your hand if you're a Honda franchisee. Okay. So I go to my used cars. I see my inventory list. You don't have to get off that. We know that my inventory is where that lies. I'm going to click on my sales. I've got two options. I've got the ability to look at what I sold in the last 6 months. I've also got the ability to look at my last 100 sales. For the sake of the presentation, we're going to look at the last 6 months. I can sort make, model, year. I can sort on how many I sold. I can sort on lowest price, highest price, median price, minimum age, maximum age, average age. I'm going to sort highest to lowest. I want to know, hey, what I'm selling the most out of, am I losing that ability to keep the shelf stocked, and what do I need to do about it? So, without a crystal ball, if I'm a Honda dealership and I'm looking at compact SUVs, what do we think is probably the #1 seller?
CRV.
CRV. Tickle me surprised and knock me over with a feather. Big surprise. 280 CRVs sold in the last 6 months. I probably want to keep that shelf stocked. I can see that information there, and from here, I'm able to do a couple things. I can see, hey, what is the sold date versus the listed date? How long did it take? And what am I going to do with that information? Do we not think it's valuable to us in how our restocking efforts would progress if we knew, geez, EXLs, we sell on average in 20 days. LXs takes us 44. That information is right at your fingertips. I'm not asking, Marvin's not asking, no one in this room is going to ask you guys to use any extraordinary amount of brain power. All this stuff is right in front of us. It's our choice what we choose to look at and what decisions we do with that. If we are harvesting in your front gross and back gross, although I think gross is a byproduct of the acquisition, isn't it good to know what we made on certain trim levels? Geez, we're usually running along at a pretty good clip, but I'm noticing that we're making about 50% of the money on a certain trim level. That's probably good to know if I'm looking at lease turn-ins, if I'm looking at developing a campaign through my CRM or through my service to sales handoff process. So right here is just one particular model, digging in, seeing is there any correlation between price and miles. If we know we're selling that much, we really need to have a game plan and have a process in place to keep those shelves stocked. And that's really how I look at this. Anything you want to add on this?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the relationship between the year, the trim, mileage, price, all these things. I think we kind of have a gut feeling of, well, LXs we do really well with because they're cheap, or EXLs do really well because they have really good equipment. But it also could vary per year as well. And cars got really expensive over COVID, and they're still pretty expensive. So I think price point, people shopping for cars and looking for affordability, I think this is a good place for you guys to look through some of that information and then put kind of 2 and 2 together of, okay, this trim level, this year, this price point, these are the cars that we did really well with. And I'm going to go back to average days to sell for a second, because determining which one of these cars sell the fastest, you'll see the days there, which cars sell fast compared to what is our overall average days to sell inside of our VINCUE account. I think we really have to take it a step further when we're figuring out, okay, I need inventory, I need compact sport utilities, I need CRVs, what should they be? And this is the targeted approach that we can take just based on the vehicles that we've already sold.
Who did not know about this? Show hands. No right or wrong, because it's the onus is on us as performance managers. This is crucial for you guys to know, and we want to make sure, and that's why we're showing this. So the next step from this.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
I can on my glasses to see that far, but does that say front rows, back rows on there?
It does.
And where do you get that information?
That information comes from your DMS. So if you do want to do that, get a hold of your performance manager.
Gotcha. So it's not last price. It's true front rows.
Exactly, it's transaction. Thank you for asking. Demand.
So now that we've looked at, okay, CRVs, trim levels, price points, all the things, hey, these are the cars that we need based on vehicles that we've already sold. Even though this store does a tremendous job selling a lot more than just CRVs, but since that's the topic of conversation for this example, we can also look to see, do we have any blind spots? Yeah, we're doing great, but could we do better? Are there certain years that sell better in the market, sell faster than the market? And where are some deficiencies that we have in our CRVs? So we can break this down by year. So when we're looking at the top models based on demand of what's going on outside our four walls, we can open this up and say CRVs is the #1 seller. 590 of these things sold in the last 30 days, and they sold on average in 41 days. Now, if we're looking at average days to sell, some of those years are going to sell a little bit faster, a little bit slower than others. And maybe we have a gut feeling about that stuff. But now that we actually have the data to determine, yeah, we do great, but look, man, the #2 seller, we're out of business. #3 seller, we're out of business. We actually had pretty limited inventory on our #1 selling vehicle, not just at our dealership, but in the market. You guys know compact sport utilities are hot. In a lot of markets, it's either a RAV4 or CRV that's the #1 seller. So they do have some deficiencies. So even though they're doing a tremendous job, are there some blind spots in our inventory? And these numbers in blue represents how many cars we have in each one of those year ranges.
Yeah. Now, again, I'm going to ask as just general knowledge, how many of you are consistently accessing your demand tab? Show of hands who didn't even know the demand tab was there. There's no right or wrong. Okay, so remember, when you go into your used car inventory, that's this first tab right here. The last slide we were on my sales. What's going on within the four walls of my dealership? And then in your dealer settings, if your used car market is set to, let's say, a 50-mile or 100-mile radius, that's what this is going to pull in from, and that's the next tab over, which is demand. So you think, okay, I have an OEM franchise store selling Hondas. The #1 thing they're selling for compact is CRVs. They sold 300 of them in 6 months. These guys are doing great. They're kicking ass. This demand tab shows 10 model years of CRVs. The best-selling model year, we have 2 in stock. Well, how long is it going to take us to sell out of those? Friday? Then we're out. We're gone. And if that client doesn't find that used car at your spot, what are they doing? Waiting? They're going to patiently walk in and go, hey, I really want a 22 and you don't have one. Will you find me one? No. They find the car and then they find the dealer. That's how it works now. The second and third best model years, like Marvin said, we don't have anything. So we're doing such a good job, we think, oh, well, we're selling 300 in 6 months. That's pretty damn good. Well, I have nothing. I have nothing. I have 1. I have nothing. I have 3. Nothing. That's where if you just take that extra couple of seconds and go one step further, even with what you sold the best out of, there's opportunity. Now, what if I possibly think to myself, hey, when it comes to CRVs, how many of you think in your inventories you have models that, you know what, as hard as you try, you can't squeeze any more blood out of that stone. I've done what I could, and I got to figure out a different plan if I'm going to increase my gross, increase my sales, or my unit count. It happens. I know it's happened to me. So what we also can do is we can look at this and go, hey, what are the other things that are selling? Let me get my giant head out of the way. We said CRV is #1 in the market. What's #2? RAV4, Road, HRV, Mercedes, a CX-5. And what information can we do with it? Well, a couple different things, guys, is remember, most of the screens you're gonna get on and tabs you're gonna get on, they're gonna be able to be sorted. So in here, we're ranking highest to lowest. How many units sold highest to lowest in the last 30 days? As a point counterpoint, hey, what sold the previous 30 days? I wanna know, is the market moving up? Is the market moving down in unit sales? As well as, what's the average days to sale? You know, yeah, they sold a couple more, but it certainly took them a longer time to do it. Or they sold a few less, but they certainly sold them a lot faster. That information is at your fingertips. Sold data in units, sold data in average days supply, as well as what do we have in stock. Now for here, I got 11 CRVs, already covered it. Close that investigation, put it to bed. But what about number 2? What about number 3? I got the top selling compact SUVs here. If I want to develop a game plan to think outside the box and get other makes and models, this is where I'm going to do it. I'm not going to shoot from the hip. I'm going to develop a game plan. I'm going to figure out, hey, what's next to me? Do I have a Toyota store over here? Do I have a Mazda store over here? What's the best game plan for me? You know, how did the average days to sale on some of these units compare against what my store is currently performing at? Do I feel it's a relative risk to put something on my lot that could potentially sell quite a bit longer than what I'm currently operating at? Again, the job of these screens is to bring you better information to make better acquisition and retailing decisions. So that's where we're pulling this out. Also, it's going to tell you, and I'm sorry for a couple of those errors, it's going to tell you how many are out in that marketplace right now for sale. You know, do I want to play in that sandbox? Well, there's 1,500 of them within 100 miles. How much justice am I going to do if I just go lay a 10 on my lot? That's for you guys. You know, we can point the direction with the compass, but, you know, I can't go over the mountain for you. I'll try. I'll walk with you. It's huge. It's huge. Now, I'm going to have Marvin take this and go one step further. Let's say we just land on a particular model. Well, Dick, it's really nice that you're showing us these, but can we get a little more information? Yeah, we can. It's pretty simple. And it's just click it in over on the left side, and what do we do? Toyota, RAV4? So what if we wanted to go down the RAV4 lane?
Before we do this, I just want to ask a question though. You sell Toyotas, right? Do you have an opinion about selling CRVs? You'll sell them if you take them in on trade, right? Do you source them? Do you go out there and try to compete with all the Honda stores that are paying crazy money and buy them? Do you seek them out, anything like that? Does anybody seek out other brands other than what the sign says out front in their dealerships? We do, right? Everybody kind of has an opinion about that. So, oh, well, if I take it in on trade, I guess I'll sell it. But if we feel like what Dick said, we've really maximized our core product, right? Really want to grow our business, and we work the service drive. Man, we try to get everything we possibly can, but there might be a thought process around, well, maybe I can sell some stuff that doesn't say Toyota on the back, right, or Honda on the back of it. But if we're going to do that, we all know it comes with a certain level of risk. You're competing with new cars. You're with incentives. You're competing with certified pre-owned programs, right? So if we're going to go outside of the brand, we talk about having a targeted approach. You absolutely have to do it here. And looking at average days to sell, you have got to pay attention to that. And it may take us a little bit longer for a Honda store to sell a RAV4. But understanding the market data, targeting cars that sell really well in the market, even though it's not our core product, this here is how we can really, really grow our business. And I think a lot of dealers don't really think of it in terms of this because, oh, well, man, I remember that RAV4, it took me 90 days to sell, and I blew $4,000 whenever I did. I think we all have those types of memories, right? But if we can use the data that's already inside of your VINCUE account and really target not just core products, we know we do really well with it, but finding cars that do really well in the market based on year, make, model, how many cars sold in the last 30 days, the previous 30, average days to sell. And then again, we can measure our inventory against that, looking at what do we have in stock versus the cars that sell really well. So if we're going to grow our business, this is definitely a way to do that. Yes, sir.
I just have simple, if I'm off base, let me know, because garbage in, garbage out. Wholesale, Will it affect that number because some of my wholesale units I get rid of are marked in here?
As long as you're putting them in wholesale status before they come out of your inventory. That's the key. If you keep them in retail, it's going to count as a retail.
I put them in wholesale, but they still appear in here.
When you say appear in here, what do you mean?
I mean, if I break it down and see when it was sold, it's in that number. Does that make sense?
In which number?
Like when you have your plus sign and you drop it down, like a RAV4, drop it down, that wholesale unit appears in that sold.
I would look at that, I would
If it
look
was-
at two different ways.
Hold on, if it was on your website at some point and we see it leave your website.
It wasn't.
Since we crawl,
Right.
then we would see it. So that, we can look at your account, but that likely might be the chance.
That could be the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, if it was on, even if it was on for like a day or two and then you
Right.
put it in wholesale, it might be why.
So there's
Mark, I
still
may have
coming.
misunderstood. So were you talking about the my sales?
Right.
The listed
It's
sales in
whole-
there?
Yeah, it'll list it as a sold unit.
Yeah, there'll be wholesales in there when you're looking at my sales.
Okay. So it won't
Yes,
affect
sir.
this though, as far as the market.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, what this will, because we crawl websites to get all of our data, when we're
Right.
looking at market data, it is possible that some of these 18 RAV4s hit a website, filled the shop, and then they got rid of it, right? And it counted as a retail deal here, so yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was tracking.
Yeah.
We're gonna, are you good for this, or you wanna go to the last point?
No, take it.
So I'm gonna openly invite you guys to do a couple things. Is the first thing I'd like you to make a note of, for those who are not as versed as this as possible, is I'm gonna encourage you that when you get out of here, or even maybe after we get done talking, send a message to your performance manager and go, hey, I'd like to meet, and I'd like to go over the sales, and I'd like to go over demand. Is there anybody in this room who feels I could not do a better job if I knew more about these two screens? Please, raise your hand and go, you know what, how about you? You good? Yeah, he kicked you. He's throwing you under the bus. This is the whole point of these breakout sessions, guys, is that we want you to better understand this information. And I know you can get a lot of this information probably from your DMS and probably from your CRM, but I think most of us in this room can agree that's pretty damn easy. I mean, we're talking mouse clicks here. And the whole point of this is you're going to see in our second and our third presentation with the team is it goes into building a better buy plan, having a buy plan, not having an inventory full of, well, this is just what I have. I'm consciously making choices to weaponize my inventory using my sale data and my market data. Thank you guys very much for your time. We both appreciate it. Before we switch.